please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody, so we are back for another episode of Hit or Miss, where I look at NHL teams' first round draft picks from 2005 through 2015 and determine if each pick is a hit or a miss. Today we're going to be talking about the Buffalo Sabres as we wind down here with the rest of the Atlantic Division. There's only a few teams left to do. We're going to do Buffalo today, Detroit tomorrow, then Florida, and finish it up with Tampa Bay. But Buffalo, we're going to look at their first-round picks from 2005 through 2015 and determine, which ones worked out and which ones did not. This is going to be an interesting one for sure. Before we get started, I just have to ask that you please hit that subscribe button if you're new and give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already, as that greatly helps out the channel and is very, very much appreciated. But let's get into it here. Buffalo Sabres starting in 2005, where they selected 13th overall, and with that pick they took center Merrick Zigrapin, who I don't know, I hope I said that right, and this is a miss as he never played an NHL game, 0 games, 0.0 anything. Obviously not what you want with a first round pick, and that one is a miss. 2006, they selected 24th overall, and with that pick they took defenseman Dennis Person. Another miss here, who played 0 NHL games. No goals, no points, no games, nothing, zeros across the board. So not a good start here for Buffalo, picking two guys that never even played a game in the NHL. 2007, they didn't have a first round pick, so they get a chance to reset here and move on to 2008. 2008, they had two first-round picks. The first one coming 12th overall, where they took defenseman Tyler Meyers. Now, this one is a hit, as Tyler Meyers has gone on to have a very solid NHL career, now with the Vancouver Canucks, but he's played for Buffalo, he's played for Winnipeg, and now he's in Vancouver. He's played 703 games in his career, scoring 80 goals, 206 assists for 286 career points and a +2 rating. Now, Buffalo kind of gave up on Tyler Meyers kind of early, and that's going to be a theme that we see throughout the rest of this video. They ended up trading him away, but in the end, he's had a very, very solid NHL career and is definitely a hit. They picked again 26 overall and took forward Tyler Ennis. This is another hit, as Ennis has gone on to be a fantastic depth forward for a long, long time now in the NHL, playing 613 games, scoring 133 goals, 180 assists for 313 career points and a -78 rating. He's played for a lot of different teams. He's been a really solid depth scorer. Somebody who you can throw on the, really kind of move up and down the lineup, but at the end of the day is kind of a third or fourth line level player, but he can play a bigger role if you need him to, or if you're short on the wings. Just a really versatile, solid player to kind of just have in your lineup. And, there's a reason he's still in the league now with the Edmonton Oilers, and he's put a pretty nice career together for sure, so definitely a hit. In 2009, they selected 13th overall, and with that pick, they took right wing Zack Kassian. And this is, to me, another hit, as Kassian has gone on to have a very interesting NHL career that had some very down parts in it, but also has had some very good parts in it. And at the end of the day, he's become a very, very solid, power forward, tough guy / guy who can score as well. Secondary scorer for the Edmonton Oilers. He's now with the Oilers and really having the best years of his career in Edmonton. Signed a contract extension with them this season. He's a guy that I really, really like. I'm a huge fan of Zack Kassian, and his career almost got completely derailed. He had a lot of issues early in his career. Buffalo almost destroyed him before his career even started. But now that he's kind of figured his life out and settled things down in Edmonton, he actually has become a very, very valuable player for them. Obviously for his toughness and physicality, and also his ability to score. As he had a good year offensively this year for sure. In 525 career games, he's got 82 goals, 95 assists for 177 points and a -35 rating, and he's also an extremely physical player and fighter and valuable in many other ways other than just offense as well. So I'm going to say Kassian's a hit now that he's really found his groove in the NHL with Edmonton. In 2010, they selected 23rd overall, and with that pick, they took defenseman Mark Kissick. This one is another one that I'm going to give a hit. For a late first-round draft pick, he's turned out to be a at least an NHL regular. He's played a little bit of forward this year with Florida. He's also obviously came into the league as a defenseman. He's a depth defenseman / depth forward. He's a depth guy, but he's played 417 NHL games, scoring 22 goals, 66 assists for 88 points, and a -20 rating. He's still a regular in an NHL lineup. He's still playing in the league. So I'm gonna go ahead and say hit on that for a late first round pick. In 2011, they selected 16th overall. And with that pick, they took right wing Joel Armia. And this is another hit, as Armia actually, when he's healthy, the last couple years has had a pretty good last few seasons. He's missed time with injury, which is kind of hurt. But in the end, he's really become a solid NHL over the past couple years. 295 games played, scoring 55 goals, 56 assists for 111 points and a -1 rating. And like I said, he's really picked it up over the past couple years. And I think, he's going to, if he can continue to play at that solid level that he is now, with Montreal, that I think he's definitely a hit for sure and having a pretty good NHL career. Another guy that Buffalo got rid of very early on and has actually gone on to end up playing pretty well with other teams. 2012, they had 2 first-round picks. The first one coming 12th overall, where they took center Mikhail Grigorenko, and this is absolutely a miss, as Grigorenko only played 217 games in the NHL, scoring 22 goals and 42 assists for 64 points and a -26 rating. Obviously, barely over 200 games in the league. Did not last very long. For a 12th overall pick, that is pretty bad, so certainly a miss there. They picked again 14th overall and took center Zemgus Girgensons. And I'm going to have to say miss on this one too. Now, this one is much closer to being a hit than Grigorenko, certainly. Girgensons is still in the NHL and still on the Buffalo Sabres. However, for a 14th overall pick, the offense has never really come for Girgensons. Now he's pretty much like a third, fourth liner for Buffalo. Depth player. He's played 489 career games. He's played almost 500 career games. He only has 61 goals and 77 assists for 138 points and a -53 rating. Never really developed offensively the way that he was expected to, and I'm going to say that one is another miss. 2013, they had 2 first-round picks again. The first one coming 8th overall, where they took defenseman Rasmus Ristolainen. This one I'm going to say hit. Now, I think there's lots of defensive deficiencies in Ristolainen's game. However, he's still a top 4 defenseman for Buffalo. He's still on the Buffalo Sabres. He's a big part of their defense core. He's played 493 games in the NHL, scoring 42 goals, 185 assists for 227 points and a -145 rating. That -145 is brutal. But again, he's played on a terrible Sabres team for his entire career. The Sabres have literally never been good in his entire career with them. So I don't think he's that bad of a player. He's a top 4 guy for them. He's just on a really bad team, and a team that is continually really bad. And I'm not going to call him a miss because of that. He's still a top 4 defenseman, so I'm going to call that one a hit. 16th overall, same year, they took another defenseman, Nikita Zadorov, and this one is also a hit. Zadorov is no longer with the Sabres. Another guy that they traded away very early on, gave up on very early on, and he's gone on now with Colorado and become a very, very good physical defensive defenseman. 356 career games played, 22 goals, 53 assists for 75 points and a -10 rating. He's not a big point producer, but he's a physical, tough, defensive defenseman. He's one of the biggest hitters in the league. He can play really, as far as a D-man go, he's very versatile as far as playing him. You could match him up on your first pair with a good offensive defenseman and it would work. You could have him as a depth guy on your third D pair. It would still work. He's very versatile. He can move up and down the lineup defensively. And he's become a pretty big part of that Colorado Avalanche team. So another guy that they gave up on very, very early, like a lot of these guys. They traded, Kassian, they traded Meyers, they traded Kissick, they traded Armia. Like, these guys all were just gone very early on, and they've all turned out to have actually pretty good careers elsewhere. That's a theme with this Buffalo Sabres team. 2014, they drafted second overall, and they took center Sam Reinhart, who certainly in my mind is a hit, especially after this season. It took Reinhart a little bit longer than originally expected to get going at the NHL level, and a lot of people, there's so much pressure on top 5 picks, even more so on top 3 picks, and he was taken second overall. There's so much pressure for them to just come in and produce at an extremely high level right away, and that's just not possible for some players. Like, they need to develop still, they need to grow. Not everyone can come into the NHL at 18 and play like Connor McDavid. It's actually more often than not that they don't. So there was a lot of pressure on Reinhart early on. He didn't produce offensively. He didn't really live up to it for the first few years of his career. Everyone was calling him a bust. But really, over the last couple seasons, Reinhart has really shown that he is not a bust. He's a high-level player. He's a talented player. And he can put points on the board, and it definitely makes him a hit in my mind. 400 games played, 109 goals, 146 assists, 255 points, and a -69 rating. And he really, the last 2 seasons, has really broken out and started to play like the star player that he can be. And finally, 2015, they drafted second overall again in the first round and took center Jack Eichel. And this one, obviously, not only is a hit, but a massive home run, as Jack Eichel is an absolute superstar for the Buffalo Sabres. 354 games played, 137 goals, 200 assists, 337 career points, and a -60 rating. Jack Eichel is a superstar. Jack Eichel is going to be a better than point per game player over the course of his career. Jack Eichel is the best thing Buffalo has had going for them in a decade, probably longer. Jack Eichel is going to be an all-time Buffalo Sabre if he stays in Buffalo. This team has got to find a way to put a better group around Jack Eichel. There's no excuse. They need to start winning, and it's not Jack Eichel's fault that they're not. He is an MVP level player for them. It's time to get a goaltender. It's time to fix your defense. It's time to put a decent team around Jack Eichel. The Sabres have sucked for 10 years. They are wasting this guy's talent. They are wasting his career, and he's going to leave. If they don't get it together quickly, he is going to leave. They're going to end up being forced to trade him, or he's going to leave when he becomes a free agent. They have got to find a way to not waste Jack Eichel, because he is an absolute superstar, one of the best players in the entire league, but he can't carry the team on his back by himself. They need to get a team around him. But there's your first round picks for Buffalo, guys. Giving up on Tyler Meyers, getting rid of Zack Kassian. I mean, they almost destroyed Zack Kassian, not just his career, but his life. Mark Kissick gone early. Joel Armia gone early. Rasmus Ristolainen has never had the chance to actually be on a good team. Nikita Zadorov traded away. I don't understand how they continually get rid of these guys so early before even, and then the what's funny is they go elsewhere and they have good careers and they end up being really solid players, and Buffalo looks back and goes, "Oh, I wish we still had them." Don't get rid of these guys so early. And the other thing is, how would even these players that maybe didn't turn out great, how would they have turned out if they weren't on Buffalo? How many players play like absolute garbage in Buffalo but are good elsewhere? Some of these guys, maybe Meyers wouldn't be a big hit if he stayed in Buffalo. Maybe, Kassian certainly never would have turned his career around if he had stayed in Buffalo. Maybe Joel Armia doesn't become the player that he was this past year with Montreal if he never leaves Buffalo. It's weird how so many players play like absolute garbage with the Sabres, but are good elsewhere. Robin Lehner, who wasn't a first-round pick and isn't on this list, is another example of a guy. Robin Lehner was terrible with the Buffalo Sabres. He wasn't terrible, but he obviously was not nearly the goaltender that he turned out to be now with Buffalo. And then he goes to New York, and he's absolutely fantastic. He goes to Chicago. He's absolutely fantastic. How many these guys? It's a wonder. It's weird how you wonder how these players would have played if they weren't in Buffalo. You wonder how these players would have turned out if Buffalo was better than what they've been for the past decade. There's just so many variables here. But Buffalo's kind of drafted fine. They've drafted well. They've been okay. They've got a lot of hits in here, but they get rid of them, or the players aren't hits until they go and play with other teams. I don't know what to do if you're the Buffalo Sabres, but this team has been an absolute disaster for a decade now, and they have got to find a way to fix it before they lose more guys like Ristolainen, like Reinhart, like Eichel. They've got to find a way to get this team good again. I don't know how you do it, but they've got to find a way to do it. With that, guys, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.